From a derailed roller coaster car to a collapsing swing ride, here are some serious accidents that have happened at amusement parks. Tyrese Sampson, a 14-year-old American boy, was on vacation in Orlando, Florida with the family of a friend of his. While in the city's amusement park, he wanted to try out the Orlando Free Fall, a free fall tower, and one of the park's star attractions. But, as you can imagine, this attraction was not without risks. Indeed, in this ride, you are supposed to climb up to a height of 130 meters before being propelled into the void. However, despite the danger involved, the teenager, who was determined to test the highest freefall tower in the world, queued up like many other thrill seekers in order to get on the ride. The moment he had been waiting for arrived when he was installed and climbed to the highest point. He was dropped into the void. But what was supposed to be a moment of pure pleasure soon turned into a nightmare as the unfortunate boy ended up falling 20 meters from the ground. It turns out that his safety harness had not been properly fastened, which dragged him to the ground at a dizzying speed. Naturally, after the accident, he was quickly transported to the hospital to receive the necessary treatment. Unfortunately, the fall was fatal as the teenager breathed his last breath in the hospital, resulting in the closure of the ride. In India, the employees of an amusement park were on this ride. You might think they wanted to relax a bit, but the truth is, they wanted to test this ride before anyone else. Of course, when testing a new attraction in a park, there are certain risks that can be faced, especially in terms of safety. Nevertheless, these employees went on this ride to try it out. And there, they had a great time on this ride, as you can see in this video. You can clearly hear their screams of euphoria. However, they quickly regretted this moment because the next moment, the ride collapsed. Look what happened. The accident was probably due to a defective gondola that broke loose from its track, causing the ride to fall and killing one of the employees. This is how a simple test that was supposed to relax the employees of this park turned into a tragedy, killing one person and injuring others. These employees have since recovered, admittedly after a long time. Nevertheless, they will never be able to forget what they experienced on board this household for the rest of their lives. A group of 9 people who were at an amusement park in Belgium wanted to try the Ride to Happiness, an attraction that consists of boarding a spinning roller coaster. But once on board, and while they were at a height of 32 meters, these people suddenly found themselves blocked because of a sudden breakdown. These 9 passengers were definitely in trouble. Of course, they had no choice but to wait for the rescue to come and pull them out. This finally happened after a strong mobilization of the park staff and the firemen who had to use a crane to reach the 9 people. Finally, they could be rescued one after the other, but for that, they had to be very patient and stay for a long time under the wind and rain. Can you imagine that? Being stuck between heaven and earth for hours at the mercy of bad weather. It is not a very pleasant adventure. But these people certainly forgot about the wind and rain the moment they set foot on dry land. However, we can say they will never forget this mishap and that they will never dare to go on this ride again. A few years ago, people in Disneyland Park, California were quietly waiting for the start of the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, a kind of roller coaster reminiscent of a Wild West train. They were hoping to have a great adventure on the ride, although the attraction, nicknamed California Disneyland Crazy Train, was scary with its caves, mine shafts, waterfalls, and rocks. However, these people quickly forgot their little worries and hung on tight, ready for the adventure. And this adventure, they lived it from the first moments when the train started, making their adrenaline rise and giving them a strong and pleasant feeling. Except that their little moment of pleasure was abruptly interrupted when the train's locomotive finally broke loose. The result of the accident? 1 dead and a dozen injured. After this catastrophe, some of the injured were transported to the hospital while others received the necessary care on the spot, while the body of the deceased remained there for the needs of the investigation. In short, everyone who was aboard Big Thunder Mountain Railroad that day will remember forever this horrific derailment accident. In Spain, a group of people in an amusement park near Malaga wanted to test the freefall tower, the park's star attraction. Although they knew they could be confronted with all kinds of risks on board this tower, these people preferred not to worry too much and hurried to get on board the ride. The moment they had been waiting for arrived when they climbed to a height of 60 meters before being dropped abruptly. And that was it. What a great feeling. However, these people soon regretted getting on the ride because their gondola suddenly stopped at a height of 30 meters from the ground. Can you imagine that? The brakes of the tower would probably have failed, which caused this fall that did not end very well. Indeed, these people suffered some injuries. Some had to be transported to the hospital. Nothing serious by chance except for a little panic and some whiplash. Wow, for a mishap, it was indeed one, and these people will perhaps never dare to climb aboard a freefall tower again. Never again. In Disneyland Park in California, a 48-year-old tourist named Regina Young was with her friends when she wanted to take a ride on the Matterhorn bobsleds. This ride consists of a set of roller coasters in a mountainous setting reminiscent of the famous Swiss Matterhorn. Now, a roller coaster is not only a thrill, but it is also likely to cause vertigo and danger, as Regina Young was no doubt aware. But this woman still climbed aboard a bobsled alone in the back. While her first moments on the ride were joyous, adrenaline-filled experience, the fun soon turned into a nightmare as the woman, who was probably not properly secured, fell down the ride's track before being struck and killed instantly by another oncoming bobsled. The woman died without suffering. However, her accident, which occurred in 1984, made her one of the many victims of thrill rides, and the fifth since the Disneyland Park opened in 1955. A little boy named Iban, 5 years old, was with his father at Disneyland Paris, where one of the most popular attractions is Pirates of the Caribbean. Indeed, this attraction, which reminds the setting of the movie, is one of the most popular in this park, and like many others, the little Iban certainly dreamed too to make a small stroll in this setting on board a small boat. Not immediately, however, because he first had to cross a maze of more or less scary corridors and then wait for his turn before being able to start the adventure. Accompanied by his father, the little boy patiently went through all the steps before boarding on the little boats suspended from gondolas that are connected to rails. And off we go for a ride. One can imagine the joy and pleasure the little boy must have felt while immersing himself in this magical setting. Except that this little ride had a bad surprise in store, because the child fell out of the boat at the end of the attraction. The fall could have been fatal for Iban because he was transported to the hospital in serious condition. But fortunately, after some time, his vital prognosis was not engaged anymore. Yes, the little Iban miraculously came out of it. However, he must still be traumatized by this fall that he will probably never forget in his life. The author of the video you're about to see is a Twitter user who was at the Feria de Chapultepec amusement park in Mexico, where he came to have some fun and try to film some good moments. However, this person was much more attracted to the Chimera attraction, a roller coaster intended only for thrill seekers and the bravest. You only have to see the movement of the cars and hear the screams of its passengers to guess the intensity of this 3-loop ride. In turn, this man did not hesitate to take out his phone and capture these sensational moments. He managed to film a good part of the game. Unfortunately, while filming, he also captured the moment when a wagon derailed and ended up falling on the track. Watch. It was a shock to this man, as well as to all those who were present at the scene and witnessed this fatal accident that took the lives of 2 young men and injured other passengers. This accident, which was probably due to a mechanical failure, occurred about 3 years ago, and this man has surely recovered since then. Nevertheless, he will never forget the moment when he saw the wagon break away from the tracks. In the city of Karachi, Pakistan, a 14-year-old boy named Kashaf was at Askari Park, an amusement park where he hoped to have some fun on one of its thrilling rides. Despite the risk of vertigo and nausea he faced, the young Kashaf climbed aboard Monster, a 16-seat swing ride. The teenager could finally get a taste of the thrill in the first few moments when the swing propelled him into the air. Unfortunately, the ride was to cost him his life as the bolts suddenly broke and the ride collapsed, killing the teenager and injuring several others on board. Kashaf, who was only 14 years old, died in an amusement park, but his memory was honored by the legal action his father had promised to take against the park management. However, Kashaf's name has become infamously linked to the amusement park accident that led to the closure of many amusement parks in the country. And finally, look at this man standing at the top of this slide. It goes without saying that he wants to achieve a great feat by sliding down this slide, even if it makes him feel dizzy. However, this man takes his courage in both hands. He prepares himself, then lies down on his stomach and hop. He has just succeeded in his challenge, but he will certainly regret this slide at some point, because look what will happen. This man will almost finish his dive beyond the pool and smash his head against the ground. But luckily for him, nothing serious happens in the end because he ends up in the water. Phew, he had a close call. This is a bad experience that will serve as a lesson for him in the future. Well, this man will never have the audacity to do something like that again. You've just discovered some chilling stories about serious accidents at amusement parks. What do you think about this? Have you ever witnessed an accident at an amusement park? Leave your answers and impressions in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.